Welcome back, everybody, to the 2nd of May, 1871. And we've got the 2-1 Philadelphia Athletics going up against the 1-3 Rockford Forest Citys. It's our fifth game of the season. This is the matchup. A little bit better. Philadelphia is rated higher in the catcher position and the pitcher position for both batting and pitching. Bobby Matthews is 2-1. Dick McBride is 1-3. And let's get this game underway. The starting lineups are as follows for Philadelphia. Second base, leading off is second baseman Dick Higham. Batting second, center fielder Frank Barrows. Batting third, left fielder Tom York. Batting fourth, third baseman Ed Pinkham. Batting fifth, shortstop Dickie Pierce. Batting sixth, catcher Scott Hastings. Batting seventh, first baseman Charlie Bierman. Batting eighth, right fielder Neely Phelps. Batting ninth, the pitcher Bobby Matthews. For the Rockford Forest Citys, batting first, third baseman Cap Anson. Batting second, left fielder George Hall. Batting third, second baseman Ross Barnes. Batting fourth, right fielder Lip Pike. Batting fifth, catcher Doug Allison. Batting sixth, first baseman Joe Start. Batting seventh, center fielder George Bird. Batting eighth, shortstop George Wright. Batting ninth, pitcher Dick McBride. Dick McBride will get us started on the mound. 1-3 is his record. He's going up against Dick Higham to start here, who is batting .308 with 5 RBIs. Here's the first pitch from the Agricultural Society Fairgrounds in Rockford. Here we go. First pitch is a ball, 1-0. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Swung on, grounded back up towards the hole. And that's in there for a leadoff base hit for Dick Higham. He's got himself a single. That'll bring up center fielder Frank Barnes. He is batting .077 in 13 plate appearances so far today, or this season. First pitch, 1-0. Over to second, and he's in there. And Dick Higham has stolen second base. Runner in scoring position, nobody out here. 0-1, that's a called strike, and it's 1-1. And missed the bunt. So that'll be 1-2. Here's the 1-2. Check swing, but he didn't go, and the ball's outside. It's 2-2. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Swung on. That's lined foul down the left field side. Here's the 2-2. Grounded over to the third baseman. On to first, and that is an error throw on Cap Anson. So Frank Barrows goes to first. Dick Higham goes to third. Anson starts very early with an error. And there you have it. And the runners on the corners, nobody out. That'll bring up Tom York. He is batting .308 with an RBI. Here's the first pitch. That is a called strike at the knees, and it's 0-1. 0-1 pitch. Called strike 2. And it's 0-2. Here's the 0-2. Inside. Ball 1. 1-2. Here's the 1-2 now. Swung on. That's grounded foul back behind home plate. The 1-2 is grounded into the gap, and it's an RBI single for Tom York. And it's not taking any time at all. Phillies on the board here in the top of the first. Going to second is Frank Barrows, and it's first and second with nobody out. That brings up Ed Pinkham. He is batting .500 with 2 RBIs so far this season. First pitch is a ball, 1-0. Here's the 1-0. Grounded foul behind home plate. 1-1 now. Here's the pitch. Grounded over to the third baseman. Oh, my God. Another throwing error on Cap Anson. Over to third goes Frank Burrows. Over to second goes Tom York. Anson's got 2 errors in the very first half inning. And just like that, it's bases loaded, nobody out. That brings up Dickie Pierce. He's batting .636 with 2 RBIs. First pitch is a ball. Here's the 1-0. That's popped up in the infield. Second baseman's over to get it, and that'll be the first out of the inning. Ross Barnes gets the put. Runners will not move. That brings up Scott Hastings, who is batting .231 with 2 RBIs. First pitch is a ball, 1-0. Here's the 1-0. That's a passed ball. And Burrows will score. York goes to third. Pinkham goes to second. And it's 2-0 Philly. Here's the 2-0. That's a called strike, 2-1. Here's the 2-1. Swung on and missed, and it is 2-2. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Grounded over towards the second baseman. On to first in time for out number 2. RBI ground out for Scott Hastings. York scores on the ground out. Going to third is Pinkham. And Philly have opened up a 3-0 lead here on just 2 hits in the top of the first. That brings up Charlie Bierman. He's batting .077 with 1 RBI so far this season. First pitch, called strike, 0-1. Here's the 0-1, taken inside for a ball, 1-1. Here's the 1-1, taken inside for a ball, 2-1. The 2-1 swung on. That's lined right at the third baseman, and that will be the side retired. So 3 runs on 2 hits, and they leave 1 aboard. We go to the bottom of the first. It is 3-0 Philadelphia. Leading off for the Rockford Forest Citys will be third baseman Cap Anson. Here's the first pitch from Bobby Matthews. That's outside for a ball, 1-0. Here's the 1-0. That's ball 2, and it is 2-0. Here's the 2-0 pitch. Ball 3, and it is 3-0. Here's the 3-0. Swung on and missed, and it's 3-1. The 3-1 pitch. Swung on. That's lined into center field, but high, and the center fielder, Frank Burrows, is there to make the catch. That'll bring up George Hall, the left fielder. He is batting .333 with a home run and 4 RBIs so far this season. Here's the first pitch. That's taken low for a ball, 1-0. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Called strike, and it's 1-1. 1-1 pitch. Called strike 2 on the outside part of the plate. And it is 1-2. Here's the 1-2. Swung on. That's popped up in the infield, right at the pitcher's mound. First baseman's over to make the play, and Charlie Bierman will retire George Hall. That brings up second baseman Ross Barnes. He is batting .429 with 9 hits and 21 at. Let's continue on with the bottom of the first inning. Ross Barnes, second baseman. Here's the pitch to Barnes. And that's taken for a ball. 1-0. Here's the pitch. Ball 2, and it's 2-0. Here's the 2-0 pitch. Called strike, and it's 2-1. The 2-1. Taken at the knees for a called strike, and it's 2-2. The 2-2 pitch. Swung on that chop foul behind home plate. Remains 2-2. Here's the pitch. Swung on, grounded over to the third baseman. On to first in time for out number 3, and that retires the side. No runs, no hits, nobody left. We go to the second inning. It is 3-0 Philadelphia. And we are going to take a quick 60-second break. We'll be back with the second inning in just a minute's time. Don't go anywhere. Right, welcome back. Top of the second inning. Neely Phelps is due up first. He is batting .385 with an RBI. First pitch to him. Called strike, and it's 0-1. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Swung on and missed, and Neely Phelps has found himself in a hole here early at 0-2. Here's the pitch. That's taken inside. Ball 1. The 1-2 pitch. Grounded over towards the second base. Oh, my God. That's given as a single. I would have thought it's an error, but it's scored as a single for Neely Phelps. And he's aboard with a leadoff hit. Brings up pitcher Bobby Matthews, batting .286. Here's the first pitch to him. Called strike, and it's 0-1. There's the 0-1. That's outside. Ball 1. Here's the 1-1. That's bunted down. Over to first in time for the out. That gets Neely Phelps over to second. He's in scoring position here with 1 out. That brings up Dick Higgum. He had a single and a stolen base his first at bat. Here's the first pitch to him. That's outside for a ball, 1-0. Here's the 1-0. Inside, ball 2. Here's the 2-0 pitch. Swung on, that's lined right at the shortstop for the second out of the inning. That brings up Frank Burrows, who reached via an error his last at bat. Here's the first pitch. That is high and away for a ball, 1-0. The 1-0 pitch. Swung on, grounded over towards the second baseman. On to first, in time, and that'll retire Frank Burrows. So no runs on one hit. They leave one aboard. We go to the bottom of the second. It is 3-0 Philadelphia. Due up first is right fielder Lip Pike. He is batting .263 with a home run and 3 RBIs. First pitch to Pike is taken for a strike. It's 0-1. Here's the 0-1. Called strike at the lettering and the shirt, and it is 0-2. Here's the 0-2 pitch. That's away. Ball 1. The 1-2. Taken inside, ball 2. 2-2. Here's the pitch. Swung on. That's lined into right field. Coming in for it is Neely Phelps, and he retires Lip Pike. That'll bring up catcher Doug Allison, who's batting .316 with 2 RBIs. Here's the first pitch. That's taken below the knees. 1-0. A 1-0 pitch. Over the plate for a strike, and it's 1-1. 1-1 is taken high. Ball 2. 2-1 pitch. Called strike 2, and it's 2-2. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Swung on, grounded back up towards the second baseman. On to first in time, and that is the second out of the inning. First baseman Joe Start is up to bat next. He is currently batting .200. First pitch to Joe Start. It's away for a ball, 1-0. Here's the 1-0. That's high, ball 2. The 2-0 pitch. Taken for a strike, and it's 2-1. 2-1 pitch. Called, strike 2. And it's 2-2 now. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Swung on, that's popped up. Just past second base. Over to make the play is Dick Higham, and that retires the side. No runs, no hits, nobody left. We go to the top of the third. It is 3-0 for Philadelphia. Due up first for the Athletics is left fielder Tom York. Had an RBI single his first at bat. Oh, hold on. I did not mean to. There we go. Okay. Sorry. Right. No ad break. So we continue. Here's the first pitch to Tom York. That's taken for a ball, 1-0. Here's the 1-0. Swung on, grounded over to the first baseman. And over comes the pitcher, and that will be the first out of the inning. Ed Pinkham is up next. He reached via an error his last at bat. First pitch to Pinkham. Called strike, 0-1. Here's the 0-1. That's taken inside off the plate for a ball, 1-1. Here's the 1-1. Swung on, that's lined deep into left field. Over there's the left fielder. It just drifts foul. 1-2 pitch. Taken below the knees for a ball, 2-2. Here's the 2-2. That's grounded foul. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Taken high and in, ball 3. 3-2 pitch. Swung on, that's lined into right field. Going over there is the right fielder. That is going to just land in front of him, and it is a double for Ed Pinkham. So he's aboard, runner on second, 1 out here. That brings up Dickie Pierce. He popped up to the second baseman his first at bat. First pitch to Pierce. And that's popped. It's grounded over to first, or second, I should say. And it's on to first in time, out number 2. Dickie Pierce has gone over to third. I'm sorry, Ed Pinkham has gone over to third, but now there's 2 outs. That brings up Scott Hastings, who had an RBI ground out his first at bat. First pitch is a ball, 1-0. 1-0 pitch, and that's lined foul down the left field side. 1-1. Here's the pitch. That's taken for a ball, 2-1. 2-1 pitch. That's grounded back up towards the mound. And that is an error. Pinkham scores on the error. Philly extend their lead, and it's an error on the second baseman now, Ross Barnes. Third error for Rockford City in the game. Brings up Charlie Bierman. He lined out to the third baseman his last at bat. First pitch is a ball, 1-0. Here's the 1-0. Taken outside for a ball, 2-0. Here's the 2-0 pitch. Swung on, that's grounded foul. The 2-1 pitch. Swung on and missed. It's 2-2. Here's the 2-2. That's taken inside, ball 3. 3-2, grounded foul. 3-2 again. That's popped up into left field. And foul. 3-2 pitch. That is popped up. And right to Ross Barnes, and that will retire the side. One run on 1 hit. They leave 1 aboard. We go to the bottom of the third. It is 4-0 Philadelphia. Due up first, right field or center fielder George Bird. He's batting .316 with 3 RBIs. First pitch. Called strike on the inside part of the plate, 0-1. Here's the 0-1. Taken outside for a ball, 1-1. The 1-1 pitch is below the knee, at the knees for a called strike 2. Here's the 1-2. Swung on, grounded over towards the shortstop. On to first, in time for the first out of the inning. That brings up George Wright, the shortstop. He's batting .417, 3 RBI so far. First pitch is a called strike, 0-1. 0-1 pitch, called, strike 2, it's 0-2. Here's the 0-2 pitch. That is a ball, 1-2. Here's the 1-2. Swung on, that's popped up. Right to the catcher. And he's retired. Brings up pitcher Dick McBride now. He is batting .438 so far this season. First pitch is a ball, 1-0. Here's the 1-0. Inside, ball 2. 2-0. Here's the pitch. Inside, ball 3. And McBride's got a 3-0 count. Here's the pitch. Called strike, and it's 3-1. The 3-1 pitch to Dick McBride. That's swung on. That's popped up in the infield. Coming over to get it is the shortstop, Dickie Pierce, and that is going to retire the side. 9 up, 9 down. We go to the top of the 4th. The Athletics are leading it 4-0. Due up first is right fielder Neely Phelps. We're going to take a quick 60-second break. We'll be back with more in just a moment. Right, welcome back. Top of the fourth time. Here in Rockford, Neely Phelps is the batter due up. Here's the pitch. Called strike. It's 0-1. 0-1 pitch is a ball on the outside part of the plate, outside of the plate. It is 1-1. Here's the 1-1. Swung on. That's lined into left field. Going over is the left fielder, and that just drifted foul. And so 1-2 the count to Neely Phelps. Here's the pitch. That's popped up into right field. And that will be the first out of the inning. Right fielder Lip Pike gets the credit for the putout. That brings up pitcher Bobby Matthews. He had a sacrifice bunt his last at bat. Here's the first pitch. That's taken for a ball, 1-0. The 1-0 pitch. Called strike. It's 1-1. The 1-1 pitch. Inside, ball 2. 2-1. Here's the pitch. Swung on. That's lined. That's a base hit. That just drifted foul, actually. That just blew foul. Here's the 2-2 pitch. That's lined. That's a base hit into right field. And Bobby Matthews, the pitcher, is aboard here with a single in the fourth. That brings up Dick Higham. He is 1 for 2 so far today. He takes a called strike for the first pitch. He's got a single and a stolen base and a run. Here's the 0-1. That's taken down low for a ball. 1-1. 1-1 pitch. Swung on. Grounded over towards the second baseman. On to first for 1. Or on to second for 1. On to first. Double play. Dick Higham hits into a 4-6-3 double play. And that will retire the side. No runs on 1 hit. Then nobody left. We go to the bottom of the fourth. It is 4-0 Philadelphia. Due up first, third baseman Cap Anson. Here's the first pitch. That's taken for a called strike. It's 0-1. The 0-1 pitch. Called strike 2. It's 0-2. Here's the 0-2. That's taken high for a ball. 1-2. 1-2 pitch. That is below the knees. Ball 2. The 2-2 pitch. That's lined right at the second baseman for the first out of the fourth inning. That brings up George Hall, the left fielder. He popped up to the first baseman his first at bat. Here's the first pitch. That's away for a ball. 1-0. Here's the 1-0. Called strike, and it's 1-1. 1-1 pitch. Called strike 2, and it's 1-2. Here's the 1-2 pitch. That's popped up to the second baseman. And that'll be the second out of the inning. Right, that brings up Ross Barnes. He grounded out his first at bat. Here's the first pitch. That's taken inside, ball 1. Here's the 1-0 pitch. That is high, ball 2. Here's the 2-0 pitch. Inside, ball 3. And now the count is 3-0. Here's the pitch. And he's walked him. Walked him on 4 pitches. And that brings Ross Barnes aboard. That's the first base runner in this game for Rockford Forest Citys. Lip Pike, the right fielder, will be up next. He flied out the right field his first at bat. Here's the pitch. Called strike. It's 0-1. Here's the 0-1. That's inside. Ball 1. Here's the 1-1. Called strike 2, and it is 1-2 now. The 1-2 pitch. Swung on. That's fouled. Throw over to first, and the runner's back safely. Here's the 1-2. And that is ball 2 and no throw. Ross Barnes has got himself a stolen base. 2-2 pitch. Swung on. That's lined into left field. And the left fielder will have it, and that will retire the side. Tom York gets the put. No runs, 1 hit, 1 man left. We go to the top of the 5th. Philadelphia still leads it by a score of 4-0. Frank Barrows will be the first man due up. He is 0 for 2 so far today. Here's the first pitch to Frank Barrows, and that's away for a ball. 1-0. 1-0 pitch. Called strike, and it's 1-1. The 1-1 pitch. Called strike 2, and it is 1-2. Here's the 1-2 pitch. That's popped up. Second baseman Ross Barnes is there. He makes the play, and that's the first out of the inning. That'll bring up left fielder Tom York. He is 1 for 2 with an RBI so far today. Here's the first pitch. That's a ball on the outside part of the plate. It is 1-0. 1-0 pitch is swung on, grounded over to second baseman. On to first in time, and that'll be out number 2. Ed Pinkham is up next. He is 1 for 2 so far today. Here's the first pitch. That's swung on into left field. Left fielder's over there, and he makes the play, and that will retire the side. No runs, no hits, nobody left. We go to the bottom of the 5th. 4-0 Philadelphia. Catcher Doug Allison is due up first. He grounded out his first at bat. Here's the first pitch. Called strike at its own 1. 0-1 pitch. Taken in the dirt for a ball. It's 1-1. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Inside. Ball 2. And it is 2-1. The 2-1 pitch. Swung on, grounded over to the first baseman. He will take it himself, and that is going to be out number 1. That brings up Joe Stark, the first baseman. He popped up to the second baseman, his first at bat. Here's the first pitch. Taken for a called strike. It's 0-1. Here's the 0-1. Swung on. That's popped up. And the shortstop, Tiki Pierce, will have it, and that will retire Joe's start. George Bird, the center fielder, due up next. He grounded out his last at bat. Here's the first pitch. Called strike, and it's 0-1. Here's the 0-1. Taken inside for a ball, and it's 1-1. The 1-1 pitch. That is below the knees. 2-1 now. 2-1 pitch. Inside, ball 3. And now a hitter's count here for George Bird. Here's the pitch. Swung on. That's popped up. Fouled. And lands just back behind the screens. Here's the 3-2 pitch. Swung on. Lined into right field. That's going to get down. Foul. Here's the pitch. That's grounded foul. 8th pitch of the at-bat. Here it is. That's swung on, grounded over towards the shortstop, and he reaches via an error. It'll be an error on the shortstop. George Bird is aboard here with 2 outs in the inning. That'll bring up George Wright. He's going to get caught stealing. And that is the side retired. George Bird is caught stealing. And no runs on no hits, and they leave nobody aboard. We go to the top of the 6th. It's a no-no through 5 for Philly. due up first. Shortstop Dickie Pierce. We're going to take a quick 60-second ad break. We'll be back with more in just a moment. Right, welcome back. I gotta somehow find a way to stop the bleeding because we are down 4-0 to the Athletics, and about to be on a 3-game, or well, this wouldn't be a 3-game. Yeah, it would be a 3-game skid, which is not ideal. But the Athletics are due up. It's the top of the 6th. It's Dickie Pierce, the shortstop, up to bat. Here's the first pitch. That's swung on. That's line deep. That's line deep in the right field. It's an error on the right fielder. It's an error on Lip Pike. And getting aboard onto second base is Dickie Pierce. That brings up catcher Scott Hastings, who also reached on an error in his last at bat. And that one's chopped foul. It is 0-1. Here's the pitch. That's lined right at the shortstop. He's got him. Can he get over to second? He's got him at second base. It's a double play. He gets both runners. And that clears the bases. That brings up Charlie Bierman, the first baseman, who was 0 for 2 so far today. Here's the first pitch to Bierman. That is taken inside for a ball, 1-0. 1-0 pitch. That is low, ball 2. Here's the 2-0. That is ball 3, and it's 3-1 now. Here's the pitch. Called strike, and it's 3-1. Hitters count 3-1. Here's the pitch. Swung on, grounded over to the first baseman. He'll take it himself, and that will retire the side. No runs, no hits, nobody left. We go to the bottom of the 6th. It is 4-0 Philadelphia. George Wright, the shortstop, due up first. He popped out to the catcher his last time. First pitch down and away is a ball. 1-0. Here's the pitch. Called strike. It's 1-1. The 1-1 pitch. Swung on, grounded back to the mound. Over to first in time for round number 1. Brings up pitcher Dick McBride. He's 0 for 1 so far today. And he takes ball 1 inside. Here's the 1-0. Check swing. But he didn't go. And it's below the knees for a ball. 2-0. Here's a 2-0 pitch. Called strike. It's 2-1. 2-1 pitch. Inside, ball 3. And the count is full, or it's a hitter's count at 3-1. Here's the pitch. That's lined right at the second baseman for the second out of the inning. That brings up Cap Anson. 0 for 2 so far with a line out and a fly out. First pitch. Taken for a called strike. 0-1. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Oh, he's hit him. And so Cap Anson's aboard. That'll bring up George Hall. He is 0 for 2 so far today. First pitch is taken as a ball. 1-0. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Called strike, and it's 1-1. Here's the 1-1. Grounded over towards the second baseman. On to first in time to retire the side. No runs, no hits. 1 left. We go to the top of the 7th. And Philly's got a no-no through 6. It'll be Neely Phelps due up first. He's 1 for 2 with a single. First pitch. That's popped up. And coming over is the third baseman, and he will make the play for the first out. That brings up Bobby Matthews. He is 1 for 2. Well, it says 1 for 1. He's 1 for 1 with a sacrifice bunt and a single. Here's the first pitch. Called strike. It's 0-1. The 0-1 pitch. Called strike 2. And it is 0-2. Here's the 0-2 pitch. That's down low for a ball. 1-2. 1-2 pitch. Swung on, grounded over towards the shortstop. On to first in time for round number 2. That brings up Dick Higham, the second baseman. He is 1 for 3 with a single and a stolen base. First pitch. That's lined into left field. That'll be a base hit. So Higham's aboard with a single with 2 outs here. Brings up Frank Burrows. He's 0 for 3. Here's the pitch. That is going to be a ball. 1-0. Does he make it? He does. He's safe at second base, and Dick Higham has got his second stolen base of the afternoon. Here's the first pitch. Swung on. That's lined deep into right field. Over there's the right fielder, and this time he actually gloves it, and that will retire the side. No runs on 1 hit. They leave 1 left. We go to the bottom of the 7th. 4-0 Philadelphia. Ross Barnes due up first. He is 0 for 1 so far today. Here's the first pitch to Ross Barnes. Called strike. It's 0-1. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Called strike 2. It's 0-2. Here's the 0-2. Swung on, grounded, foul. The 0-2 pitch. Inside, ball 1, and it's 1-2. Here's the 1-2. That's inside, ball 2. 2-2 now. And Barnes has fought this back to a full count. 3-2. Here's the payoff pitch. That's lined into right field, and finally in the 7th inning, there's a base hit, and Ross Barnes has got it. It's a leadoff single for Ross Barnes. First pitch. That's a called strike over. Is he going to get it? He's safe at second, and Ross Barnes has got his second stolen base of the afternoon. It was a called strike, but it's a stolen base. And now Barnes is in scoring position with nobody out. Lip Pike here to bat. 0-1 is the count. Here's the pitch. Swung on. That's popped up just shallow to the second baseman, and that will retire Lip Pike. Runner cannot move. Brings up catcher Doug Allison. He's 0 for 2 so far. Here's the pitch to Allison. That is a ball, 1-0. Here's the 1-0. Called strike. It's 1-1. 1-1 pitch. It's a passed ball. That's gonna bring Bernard, or I'm sorry, that's gonna bring Barnes over to third. And now runner 90 feet away with 1 out. Here's the 2-1 pitch. That is below the knees for a ball, 3-1. The 3-1 pitch. Swung on, grounded back up towards the hole. Over to first. Safe at first. He's beat it out. It's an RBI single for Doug Allison. And Barnes scores. And Rockford are on the board now. Runner on first, 1 out. Here's the first pitch to Joe Start. That's taken for a strike. Start 0 for 2 so far with 2 pop-ups. Throw over to first, and the runner's back at the time. Here's the 0-1. That's taken for a ball. It's 1-1. The 1-1 pitch. Swung on, grounded over to the first baseman. On to second for 1. And that's all they get. So Start is aboard on a fielder's choice. .36 on the putout. And that brings up George Bird, who's 0 for 2 so far. He was caught stealing his last time up. Throw over to first. And the runner's back safely. Throw over to first. Runner's back safely. Here's the first pitch. That's a called strike, 0-1. 0-1 pitch. Throw over to first. Runner's back in time. Here's the 0-1 pitch. That's called strike 2. It's 0-2. Here's the 0-2. Inside, ball 1. 1-2 now. 1-2 pitch is in the dirt. 2-2. The 2-2 pitch. Swung on, grounded back up towards the... It's through. It's a base hit. George Bird has got a base hit. Start is going to go to second base. And it's first and second here with 2 outs. That brings up George Wright. He is 0 for 2 so far today. First pitch to George Wright is a ball. 1-0. The 1-0 pitch is taken for a strike. It's 1-1. 1-1 pitch. Swung on. That's lined deep into center. Coming forward to the center fielder, and that will retire the side. 1 run on 3 hits, and they leave 2 aboard. We go to the top of the 8th. It is 4-1 Philadelphia. I forgot the 7th inning stretch song. We're going to take a quick 60-second break. We'll be back with more in just a moment. We're back. It's 8th inning time here in Rockford. Tom York, left fielder, is due up first. He is 1 for 3 with an RBI and a single. Here's the first pitch to him. Swung on and missed. It's 0-1. 0-1 pitch. Grounded over towards first baseman. He'll take it himself. And that is Joe Start on the put. And one away here in the top of the 8th. That'll bring up Ed Pinkham, the third baseman. He is 1 for 3 with a double. First pitch. That's popped up in right field, but drifting foul, and it does land foul. It landed. 0-1 is the count. Here's the pitch. That's taken outside, ball 1. The 1-1 pitch. Ball 2, and it is 2-1. Here's the 2-1 pitch. That's popped up in the left field. And that drifts foul. Here's the 2-2 pitch. That's taken high, ball 3. And the count is full 3-2. Here's the payoff pitch. Swung on, grounded foul. Here's the pitch. Grounded foul again. 8th pitch of the at-bat. Here it is. That's lined into left field, right at the left fielder for out number 2. George Hall gets the put. That brings up Dickie Pierce, who is 0 for 3 so far today. Here's the pitch. That's taken low for a ball, 1-0. Here's the 1-0 pitch. That's popped up behind home plate. And the third baseman comes over, grabs it, and that retires the side. 3 up, 3 down. We go to the bottom of the 8th. It is Philadelphia leading by a score of 4-1. Dick McBride, the pitcher, will be due up first. He's 0 for 2 so far today. Here's the pitch. In there for a called strike. It's 0-1. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Swung on. That's lined over the head of the infielder. Base hit. And Dick McBride's aboard with a leadoff single here. That'll bring up Cap Anson, who was hit by the pitch his last at bat. Here's the pitch. That is taken for a called strike. It is 0-1. The 0-1 pitch. Called strike 2 on the outside part of the plate. And it's 0-2 now. Here's the 0-2. That's below the knees for a ball. Oh, McBride went to second on an error. I believe he went to second on an error. Did I miss an error? Yeah, an error on the outfielder. On E8. That is the center fielder, Frank Barrows. One and 2 is the count. Here is the pitch. Swung on. That's lined into left field, right at the left fielder for the first out of the inning. Tom York gets credit for the put. That leaves McBride on second, and it brings up George Hall, who's 0 for 3 so far today. First pitch to Hall. That's in the inside corner for a called strike. It's 0-1. There's the 0-1 pitch on the outside corner for strike 2, and it's 0-2. 0-2 pitch. That's popped up in the infield. And the shortstop makes the play. That is Dickie Pierce on the put. That's 2 outs now with a man on second. It is Ross Barnes due up. He has got a single with 2 stolen bases. He's 1 for 2 so far today. Here's the first pitch. Taken inside, ball 1. The 1-0. Called strike. It's 1-1. Here's the 1-1 pitch. That's grounded foul. 1-2 is the count. Here's the pitch. And that's popped up right down the first base side, and that will do it. No runs on one hit. They leave one aboard. We go to the top of the ninth. It is 4-1 Philadelphia. Scott Hastings due up first here for the Athletics. He is 0 for 3 with an RBI. Here's the first pitch to him. That's taken for a called strike. It's 0-1. And the 0-1 pitch is lined into right field, but foul. 0-2 is the count. Here's the pitch. That's taken low for a ball. 1-2. 1-2 pitch. Grounded over towards the second baseman. On to first in time for the first out of the inning. That will bring up Charlie Bierman, who's 0 for 3 so far today. Here's the pitch. That's high for a ball. 1-0. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Swung on. That's popped up into right field. Drifting foul. And that will be foul. Here's the 1-1. Swung on through the gap. And a base hit. Charlie Bierman is aboard with a single here in the ninth. That brings up Neely Phelps. He is 1 for 3 so far today. Here's the pitch. Swung on and missed. It's 0-1. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Swung on, grounded over to the second baseman. On to second for the lead runner. And that's all they can get. That brings up Bobby Matthews. He's 1 for 3 so far today. Here's the first pitch. That's grounded foul. Here's the 0-1. Called strike 2, and it's 0-2. Here's the 0-2 pitch. That's taken inside for a ball, and it is 1-2. The 1-2 taken away for a ball. 2-2 now. Here's the 2-2. Swung on. That's line foul. Here's the 2-2. That's taken ball 3. And it's 3-2. Here's the pitch. Swung on, grounded foul. 8th pitch of the at-bat. Here it is. It's lined right at the third baseman, and that will retire the side. No runs on one hit. They leave one aboard. We go to the bottom of the ninth now. The Athletics lead it 4-1. Lip Pike due up first in the inning. He is 0 for 3 so far today. First pitch is taken for a called strike. It's 0-1. Here's the 0-1. Swung on. That's lined deep into center field. Going back, there's the center fielder. Still back, there's the center fielder. It's over his head. And Lip Pike is going to have himself a leadoff triple here in the ninth. Runner 90 feet away, nobody out. That brings up Doug Allison. RBI single his last at bat. Here's the first pitch. That is inside, ball 1. Here's the 1-0. Called strike, and it's 1-1. Here's the 1-1 pitch. That's down low, ball 2. 2-1 pitch. Inside, ball 3. Hitters count 3-1. Here's the pitch. Swung on, grounded over to the first baseman. He will step on first himself, but the run will score, and it's an RBI ground out for Doug Allison. It gets a run back for Rockford, but they need 2 more, and that brings up Joe Start with the bases empty here. First pitch to Joe Start is a called strike. It's 0-1. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Swung on. That's deep into left. Drifting foul, and it will be foul. 0-2 pitch. Taken outside, and it's 1-2. Here's the 1-2. Swung on. That's popped up behind home plate. And that'll be out number 2. George Bird will come to the plate. 1 for 3. He is the final out. They're down to the last out, Rockford City. Here's the pitch. And that is inside, ball 1. And I did the thing where I double clicked. I hate that. So I totally missed what he did. He doubled. George Hall doubled. And that's a called strike. So that's 0-1. And that means that the tying run is at the plate now. 0-1, tying run at the plate. That's called strike 2. It's 0-2. Here's the 0-2 pitch. It's grounded over towards the shortstop. Or towards second base. On to first in time, and that retires the side and ends the game. 1 run on 2 hits. They leave 1 aboard. They get 1 back, but that's all they do get. Phillies pitching supreme. And the final here is the Philadelphia Athletics 4, the Rockford Forest Citys 2. Time to go over the box scores in this one. Starting with the pitching, Bobby Matthews, he pitched 9 innings. I have his pitch count as 144. He had 1 base on balls. Who did he walk? He walked Ross Barnes. Did not strike out anybody. I have... Oh, that's not a hit. That's a walk. I mean, he no-no'd us through 6. 6 hits. Runs 2, earned, both of them. Here's the batting figures for Philadelphia. Dick Hagum, 4 at-bats, 2 hits, 2 stolen bases, 1 run. Frank Barnes, 4 at-bats, no hits, 1 error, 1 run. Tom York, 4 at-bats, 1 hit, 1 RBI, 1 run. Ed Pinkham, 4 at-bats, 1 hit. It was a double, 1 run. Dickie Pierce, 4 at-bats, no hits. Scott Hastings, 4 at-bats, no hits, 1 RBI. Charlie Bierman, 4 at-bats, 1 hit. Neely Phelps, 4 at-bats, 1 hit. And Bob Matthews, 3 at-bats, 1 hit. Total. Four, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 35 at-bats for Philadelphia. 4 runs, hits, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hits. Doubles. 3. No. Why did I write 2? He didn't have any. Oh, that goes there. That's why. Doubles. 1. Errors. 1. No strikeouts. 2 stolen bases. RBIs. 2. Not even that great. We just got absolutely nothing going ourselves. Right, that brings up... Oh, he got the win. I got to mark him as having the win. Right. For Dick McBride. 9 innings pitched. I have his pitch count as 125. No base on balls. No strikeouts. 7 hits. 4 runs, only 1 earned. Here's the batting statistics for Rockford. Cap Anson, 3 at-bats. No hits. 2 errors. George Hall, 4 at-bats. No hits. Ross Barnes, 4 at-bats. 2 hits. No, sorry, that's 3 at-bats. 3 at-bats. 2 hits. 2 stolen bases. 1 run. 1 base on balls. Lip Pike, 4 at-bats, 1 hit, which was a triple, 1 run, 1 error. Russ Barnes had an error as well. Doug Allison, 4 at-bats, 1 hit, 2 RBIs. Joe Start, 4 at-bats, no hits. George Bird, 4 at-bats, 2 hits, 1 of which was a double. By the way, Lip Pike's hit was a triple. But George Bird, 4 at-bats, 2 hits, 1 of which was a double. He was caught stealing once. George Wright, 4 at-bats, no hits. Dick McBride, 3 at-bats, 1 hit. Total batting statistics for Rockford: 3, 7, 10, 14, 18, 22, 26, 30, 33 at-bats. Runs 2. Hits 7. Doubles 1. Triples 1. Base on balls 1. No strikeouts. Stolen bases 2. RBIs 2. Errors 4. And that will do it. Right. Not great. The Fort Wayne Kekiungas have beaten the Washington Olympics by a score of 3-2 through 10 innings on a walk-off. Boston Red Stockings continue their hot form. They beat the New York Mutuals in a walk-off in the 9th. Nothing on the 3rd. Next game is the 4th. Washington Olympics and the New York Mutuals. What has it done to the standings? In the American League, the Athletics moved to 3-1. The Boston Red Stockings are a half game ahead at 5-2. I don't know why they're not listed as top. Probably because they played less games. The Athletics, I mean. Washington Olympics are a game back. Cleveland Forest Citys 1.5 games back. In the National League, the Fort Wayne Kekiungas are top. They're 4-2. Chicago White Stockings are a game back. Troy Haymakers are 2 games back. We are now 2.5 games back, and the New York Mutuals are 1.5 games back. So that's where we're at. So next game, I think we have time to do one more today. The next game will be, oh yeah, we got plenty. Will be Washington Olympics versus New York Mutuals. It'll be the last game of the stream. It is the 4th of May, 1871. I have to use the restroom, so this is going to be like a 20-minute break probably, because I have to go use the restroom and I have to prep for this stream. So I am going to have you guys in about 20 minutes time. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. We will be back with more in 30 minutes time.